Bonus show time. Bonus show. So we were just talking about, we had a little bio break, a little bathroom break, and we're talking about, I've never been. Scott, you got a mug that's like, it looks like it's got the presidential seal on it, but it's also tie-dyed.
We can talk about this now.
What president is that? Is president like...
I don't think they have
Willie
seals.
Nelson?
I don't think they have seals like the
tie-dye mug?
Like how all the royals have their own seal.
That's goofy.
All the British royals have their own thing?
Yeah, they have like customized seals.
Oh, really? Man, let me tell you, they're like, we could talk from the left anyway.
They're probably about branding.
I have a lot.
Are you a left monarchist?
You talking about branding?
Are you communist monarchist?
No.
Shut up. Anyway,
But I was gonna say, I have a lot. We could talk about Obama all day long and how attacking him from the left, but defending him from the right, and blah 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 is just so boring. But let me tell you, Obama's merchandise game was tight. It was so tight. If you went on the website back in the day, they had all the hot shit. They had little bows you could buy. They had that cat. They had a cat, right? Or was that Socks? They had a cat and a dog.
Socks was like an older cat.
Yeah, well, that was the Clintons. But anyway, they had the hottest merchandise. You could buy all the Bo the dog stuff. I just remember thinking, man, that's cool.
When are we gonna get merch?
Well, you gonna make some merch? You gonna go get pressed union press T-shirts and all that?
I mean,
I have a connection.
All right, you
I'm
do
actually
that.
working on like setting up a hub where people who are doing like stuff like this,
I mean, I know
where they can essentially have we have the information sort of centralized where we can say, okay, this is where the union printers are.
Well, that's cool. We can do that. It's just pricey. That's all. So
I know
y'all.
a guy who presses shirts out of his house.
Well, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I want some with the union bug on it, but I mean, whatever. Y'all better be ready to pay them union prices though, because this ain't T Fury. This ain't $5 tees. If we're getting pressed by a union and not slave labor.
This ain't pro wrestling tees.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna cost some money. Maybe it is pro wrestling tees because I remember used to have to get them expensive. Well, they didn't have a union, but you used to have to get those expensive wrestling shirts from New Japan.
Yeah.
Back in the day before you could buy Bullet Club shirts at Hot Topic, you'd be like, "Yeah, we'll sell you."
Hot Topic's not union either.
They'd be like, "We'll sell you a Bullet Club shirt." Super Kick Party, but it's going to be $60 because it's coming from Japan.
I want my Marty's Girl villain shirt.
Why?
Right
You like
now.
that guy? He's a bum. I don't like that.
Yeah,
Swoop, swoop. You like
No,
that guy?
man.
It's corny, man. He just walks, swoop, swoop.
Like there was a while when Marty's Girl
And
was
you will
like,
know me by my trail of haters.
We're talking about a garbage. Yeah, so if y'all don't know this nerd stuff, we're talking about a garbage pro wrestler who's like, whose gimmick is he's Danny DeVito in Batman Returns. He's
Except
the
he's got,
Penguin.
like,
It's so
a hipster haircut.
stupid.
I love it.
He's got an umbrella. He's like spins in your face. It's dumb. It's a whack gimmick.
Yeah. You're getting worked, bro.
Nah, it's a whack gimmick.
Marty's
son.
Girl sucks. He's not
does.
a wrestler.
I don't know. I haven't watched wrestling in a hot minute. Did y'all watch Saudi Cash Grab 2 Electric Boogaloo?
I watched
Nope.
the Battle of
we
Super
watched-
Juniors. And
Good for
We
you.
watched Mania the other day, which was awesome because Chris Jericho had an awesome match with Okada. Also, we got to see Naito versus
Ooh, Naito's that funk.
Naito versus Kota Ibushi, which is always I love Kota Ibushi because he's my biggest favorite idiot.
Let me ask you this because
He beat up a child and adopted him.
Oh, it's so dope, dude. I like that guy. I used to hate him in WWE because he was
Dean Ambrose.
Dean Ambrose, and he was from Cincinnati. And I'm like, this guy. I used to just call him the Cincinnati plumber because he looked like every laborer you'd see in Cincinnati, like Cincinnati.
Why'd you
roofer.
hate that? That sounds everything
Because he just had a look that was like Dean Ambrose, the most
working guy.
Shut up.
John Moxley is
No, because he was the most generic thing. That's why I call him Cincinnati Plumber. I was like, who is this dude who hangs out at BW3s? Like he's not.
Well, if he's Cincinnati Plumber, his son's gonna be a great wrestler.
It's terrible, but I guess he's cool. Is he cool in whatchamacallit now? That's dope.
He's cool.
Fine.
He's had 2 matches. One match was against Juice, where he beat him
Juice
for
Robinson.
the IWGP United States Championship.
IWGP is the only belt that matters in the world.
Yeah, and then
No
he
other
had
belt matters.
And he had a wrestling match against Shota Umino, the young lion.
What's going on, with my
The
boy?
son of,
He's your boy, man.
referee.
What's going on, with my boy? What's going on, with my boy who had the cap? Then he got torn up by Bad Luck Fale.
The cat?
The cat, man.
Oh, you mean Hiromu
The little
Takahashi.
Trump. Yeah, Takahashi.
Oh,
what
no,
happened
he got his neck
to
busted
Daryl, man?
About a year ago, he got his neck broken by Dragon
Oh.
Lee,
And
and he's been out. But God bless Hiromu. He's going to be back.
He will be missed. He got his neck busted, so the Battle of Super Juniors was kind of boring this year. But he said he swore not to come back until he's at 1,000%.
So stupid. I tried with New Japan. It's not the content either. It's that they need to get I bought
so much better.
I bought their website for a hot minute, and I was just like, I don't know what any of this is. I feel like
just steal Just Login.
No, I don't want to steal. I'll just pay for it. Like I felt like I would click on like, oh, what match is this? It would just be like people playing Tekken.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what? I was like, I'm just trying to watch.
Like Kenny Omega on Twitch.
I'm just trying to watch the Super Juniors or whatever.
Kenny ain't there no more, so maybe you don't have to worry about that so much anymore.
Ain't there no more.
I don't know. Where's Kenny? Kenny's at.
So they had this new group called AEW, All Elite Wrestling. That,
but aren't they just like?
I think they're gonna have.
Don't they have just like?
They don't have an agreement because they have an agreement with Ring of Honor.
Well, it doesn't Ring of Honor like by proxy.
No, they're direct.
It's complicated.
Oh, that's dumb, son.
But anyway, AEW has So essentially, the core people of the AEW are the people who are in the Bullet Club. The people who know what the Bullet Club is. They were a group of mostly like Gaijin wrestlers and. But Gaijin is American.
When you're just trying to eat a meal and you see that fat guy wearing that annoying T-shirt with the skull on it, like that's the Bullet Club.
Yeah, their shirts are everywhere. People
got
like
five
point
of
their finger at you and,
I am that fat guy.
like shoot a fake bullet. But Kenny Omega was the champion, and he was the leader of the Bullet Club for a little while, and now they split off and they created their own formation in the U.S. Cody Rhodes
is the best wrestler ever. Yes,
he's got the best song.
God, he's so good.
Also, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega are essentially like the core of it. Chris Jericho had a great match with Kenny Omega at the first AEW show, and Jericho won. He beat him.
Whoop whoop whoop.
Anyway, we're talking about wrestling.
We got on a wrestling tangent. That's pretty. Did you want to talk about?
Maybe we should watch wrestling on Twitch. Maybe that's something we should do.
That'd be like very.
We're stepping in the WrestleSplainia.
That'd be very avant-garde. We could broadcast on Twitch while watching Lucha Underground on Twitch.
I've never watched Lucha Underground live. I don't have cable.
Have you seen? I've never seen it. I've only seen.
It's canceled. Oh, what did they say? What did they?
Basically, like all the wrestlers on contract, like sued to get out of contracts because they were tired of like not being able to be on TV for like a year.
But I mean, that was Lucha's thing, though. Like,
but that, what made them good?
What? Just say what you can say,
We can
Jeff.
talk about the Bernie education plan later. I'm liking the trajectory of this conversation.
Oh,
and plus, I can school myself up on it.
That. I don't care. I just talk about Bernie more. But yeah, the thing about Lucha was
Bernie would be for wrestlers organizing.
My girlfriend would like. I got her on that for a hot minute because it was like no other wrestling show that it completely leaned into the theater.
Yeah, it was produced by Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, it's not that
he has a love for like weird performances.
Yeah.
It's not that wrestlers would just get hurt and go away, or just like they would get killed off on the show. He'd be like, "Oh my God, it's a gun! Oh my, she shot his brains out!" And 1, 2, 3, the pin, new champion.
What was
it's never somebody getting
Big
shot.
Rick.
Like
what?
Press F for Big Rick.
But I think one time somebody got like a magic gauntlet and they just crushed somebody's
That's
brains.
so rad. That's so rad. Dude, the press F for Lucha Underground. Give him respect, son.
The thing that made him good was ultimately like the curse, because they had these like contracts where you couldn't be on TV unless you were while you were in contracts.
Exclusive contracts.
So like all these guys would have to be working the indies and they couldn't be on TV, like using the exposure they got from Lucha Underground.
They have to change their names and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, what was Jeff Cobb's name?
Jeff Cobb.
See, that's just not gonna work. That goes into a thing.
Like Lucha Underground is probably more proprietary than WWE is.
Let's talk about that. That's a good talking point to like turn this thing back into the Socialist Podcast. That
organized wrestlers.
Yeah, honest to God, like
John
that's
Oliver
not gonna fucking work anymore.
John Oliver had that piece.
Bernie's card check program would be great for wrestlers.
Yeah,
But, like,
for real.
So for people who don't know,
You can't tell a motherfucker they're a independent contractor.
yeah. So what is an independent contractor, Robert?
Well, an independent contractor says you're not an employee, so you don't get any benefits of being an employee.
Right, you pay your own taxes.
Yeah, you pay your
don't
own
get any
taxes. You don't
benefits.
get any benefits at all. So you can't be like, hey, you're Robert Johnson, the pro wrestler, and that's your wrestling gimmick, but you're not our employee. But then you have to sign this agreement that if you want to go, you're working for A company right now, but if you want to go work for B company, you can't take the Robert Johnson gimmick over there with you. That's fucking ridiculous.
And if you're not right here where I say that you are at a certain time, then you're not going to get work from us anymore.
Am I your employee or not?
Follow you. Yes, they want you to be an employee, but you don't have any rights.
They don't want to
be
give
an
you
employee.
any
If
benefits.
Robert Johnson went to another company, it'd be like, oh, what is John Robertson doing in the Impact Zone?
Absolutely. You don't. What did your boy say back in the day, Razor Ramon? You know who I am,
Yeah,
but you don't know why I'm
like,
here.
His name might as well have been not Razor Ramon.
And then they got fake Razor Ramon and Diesel.
Like Blazer.
Ramon the Razor.
Yeah.
What on earth, man? But no, they're pro wrestlers are in like they need to organize more than. I wouldn't say more than like every.
Workers
They need
to
a union
organize.
real
Period.
bad.
Yeah,
Workers
they
need
have a
to
union of
organize.
workers
I think
that
a
are
popular
wrestlers.
I think a popular thing was that John Oliver piece right the week before WrestleMania. where
No,
he was
dude,
like,
so many pro wrestling. That's when I was still following pro wrestling because I don't follow it anymore. That's when so many pro wrestlers were like, I used to listen to. I probably should start listening to him again. Jim Cornette's podcast, and he was just like,
He really stepped in it recently because there was
what happened, dog?
What was that wrestler's name?
because Jim Cornette's a liberal
So
too.
he's a liberal.
He's a trash.
But so there was an Exotico wrestler. What was his
Pimpinella Estrella?
name? No, not Pimpinella. It was
Oh,
that
not the
AEW.
old one,
No,
right?
it's not like you're thinking of Sonny Kiss.
Who's the old Exotico
Kiss.
Sonny Kiss
from
is
back in the day?
not an Exotico. Sonny Kiss is
What's an Exotico?
Exotico is a Mexican tradition of like a person.
drag wrestling.
Yeah, it's drag. I was gonna say
wrestling.
we would call
But,
it like a trans wrestler, but no.
they're usually they're sometimes played by like straight men.
Well, of
and they
course,
do it
yeah,
different.
yeah, but like,
But Sonny Kiss is a queer wrestler who has like a male fiance. Who,
oh, like legit,
Yeah, like,
not a work. A work is
Can't be
just
gay
y'all
drag?
don't watching
I mean, you
wrestling.
can be, but like
trans is
but
drag.
no,
That's what
the thing
ContraPoint
about
does. That's their entire website.
like I think the Exotico thing was like straight men kind of like wearing it as a costume.
I don't know.
A
Like
little
that's the
bit
thing.
more
Who's the
personal.
really famous? And I've seen them before in at Ring of Honor shows. Who's the really
you're
famous
talking about Dalton
Exotico?
Castle.
No, the really famous Exotico in the Mexican wrestling company
Pimpinella
AAA.
Escalata.
Okay, and like
Pimpinella in Spanish.
I used to watch.
She was on Lucha Underground for
Yeah.
a while.
I used to watch whatchamacallit on AAA back on Galavision. What are you playing wrestling theme songs for? Turn it off. Nobody wants to hear that. It sounds terrible. But I used to watch, and like I used to watch a lot of their matches, and I never like. It was kind of like it was the idea of these super macho men in Latin culture being beaten up by this effeminate person, and I don't know Spanish, so I don't know how they were presenting.
Problematic stuff to that.
I think
Yeah.
it's weird because like
Goldust was an Exotico.
Yeah.
Like, and a Goldust was a Western Exotico.
But like I think as time has gone by, like
Ringo Exotic.
if you're watching like AAA or CMLL in the '90s, like 9 times out of 10, an Exotico is like the heel.
Those are Mexican wrestling companies, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like you don't want to get beat by the
Yeah,
gay
it's
one.
like oh no,
Right. And it was always like, oh,
It's
you
almost
got
like-
beat by blah, blah,
It's
blah.
almost like
Losing your mask?
getting beat up by a girl or something. Like
Yeah. It was like,
They're
yeah.
at the bottom of the barrel in a lot of ways, but they became like extremely
Yeah, like
Popular.
as time went on, like by the time of Lucha Underground, Pimpinella was like everyone's like, yeah, we love Pimpinella, like she's
people would
like
turn out.
yeah,
she can draw.
yeah, Pimpinella,
Anyway,
like we love her.
So back to
Billy-
the
Yeah, like, we
point.
love her spirit.
Billy,
Back-
what's his name?
Yeah, back to Jim Cornette.
What's their name?
No, he's him.
Is he him?
And just to give
But
everybody an
anyway,
idea of who
Sonny
Jim
Kiss.
Cornette is,
Sonny
Jim
Kiss.
Cornette's a guy
He's an old guy.
the old guy back in 80s and 70s, 80s and
Smoky
90s
Mountain.
wrestling who he's touched every position in the business. He's been a wrestler, he's gotten beat up in the ring, been a promoter, been a valet, a manager.
Jim Crockett Productions.
Yeah,
all the
he's
old
touched.
stuff.
So if you want to know about old school, like my pipe dream, like every boy who ever watched wrestling, like wants to be a wrestler. I never wanted to be a wrestler. I wanted to be Bobby Heenan or Jim Cornette. And that's kind of why I got this show, too, so I can, like, run my mouth off. Because that's what they did. They run their mouth off and then
what are you doing with that tennis racket, Robert?
Yeah, I got hit by a chair. I loved, I love the gimmick. But yeah, anyway, so
Jim
what
Cornette,
did he
So
do?
Sonny Kiss was in a like multi-person, like a Royal Rumble Battle Royal type of over-the-top rope situation. And on his podcast, and we're talking about a wrestling show and a wrestling show's podcast now. This is how meta we're at right now. So nobody's listening. But he started talking like all this homophobic crap about like, why is Sonny Kiss there? It doesn't make any sense for the story, whatever. And just can't accept the fact that a wrestler who's not a dude exists, like a cis dude exists. And that was sort of the problem with the way that Jim Cornette does it, and he does a lot of that stuff. He does a lot of that stuff with like women in wrestling. He does a lot of stuff with like, but not to say that he doesn't like have a good analysis, and he doesn't like. Well, he doesn't have good. He does have a good analysis sometimes, but like certain things, he just wants to grind his axe, and he just has such incredible blind spots for things that aren't like normal.
But sometimes he dead on though. Oh, really? About that? Because a lot of times when he talks about old school, new school stuff, he's dead on. Because I don't want to see invisible hand grenades. I don't want to see Joey Ryan. I don't want to see Joey Ryan doing dick flips. Man. I don't want to see that. That's bullshit. Oh my god. Yeah.
Have you seen it live though?
No, I don't ever.
Fun live.
Get out of here! 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 Get out of here!
Joey Ryan.
Like the best friends.
It's a good gimmick. I like that like nasty guy gimmick. But what are you gonna say?
The best friends are one of my favorite. Like I love those guys. They're the ones that do like Chuck Taylor's the guy who does the hand grenade and like.
Oh god.
But like my thing about Jim Cornette is that like his view about what wrestling is a box, and as wrestling gets more popular, that box gets smaller in the larger picture. You know
I mean, I guess, but where he's coming at it from is that he wants to see two guys in a fight. Like, you're going to have to show me where he's, like, super... Because what you just told me right there is not super homophobic, but I believe you. There's probably...
it was bad.
It was bad. Wrestling circles is a huge problem. And there are some very, like, SJWE wrestling circles, especially on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
So all the circles I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't... Yeah, and that goes to, like, being
I'm not against SJWism, by the way.
But I mean, he's a Kentucky liberal, so it's like, I don't expect him. I got into the same kind of thing with somebody about video games today, just on Facebook, and it was. I'm really excited about that Cyberpunk 2077 game. I really want to play that, and apparently there's an ad in it, like not an actual ad, but an in-game ad. You know, for that it's a piece of art that's supposed to an art asset that's supposed to expand the world. You know, give you flavor text about the world. And it's an ad the player runs by, and it's supposed to be like for some kind of soft drink or maybe alcoholic beverage, I don't know. And it says mix it up, and it's the person in the ad, the art thing that they drew is a trans woman, and I'm like, and you can tell it's a trans woman.
Canceled.
Yeah, because there's the bulge, like there's a bulge in the nether regions, and the trans woman on this Facebook page was like, this is terrible, this game should be canceled, like da 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 da, and I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying. That's a bit ridiculous when you look through it through the eyes of, yeah, like this is, what's the word I'm looking for, commodifying trans people, but it's also a fake advertisement in a cyberpunk video game where these people are now transhuman. So why wouldn't trans people be commodified sexual objects? That's what capitalism does.
Absolutely, that's exactly right.
That's what it does. Like,
I think maybe, and I'd say this is like a cis.
I have Jim Cornette's quote.
A cis male, but like I think it's a thing where it's like where the point of view is coming from seems a little more exploitive than like
No, that's a good point, because I said I finally told her at the we're texting on Facebook on this page, and I said I don't want to be flippant, but welcome. I said as a black cis male, as a person of color, welcome to the club where you get to pick apart everything, whether being racist, sexist, homophobic, or is this just an art piece?
Right.
And what is the intentions of the person creating this?
Yeah.
And like, welcome. Like, you get to do this every day for the rest of your life until you lose your mind.
I think the rush, like, for some people to be like, oh, you're being too sensitive is kind of what makes them defensive. Like, they're worried about being misrepresented.
I wasn't trying to, and that's the thing. I wasn't trying to be to this.
Robert, you're not canceled.
No, I wasn't trying to say to this person you're being too sensitive. I was trying to be like, can you see where this piece of art, where this would come from, how this would fit into this world?
Here's Cornette's quote.
See, I want to hear about Jim Cornette.
Then, here comes Sonny Kiss, who apparently got off his day job at the drag show at the fucking Tropicana. They're not explaining any of this. The transvestite or exotico, as they would say in AAA. And then Kiss actually had some pretty positive stuff to say. Like he was very positive in it, and I think that's the best kind of approach for these kinds of things. He said, sometimes you have a lot of people's words and actions speak for themselves, good and bad. With that being said, I want to thank everyone for the support, because he got a lot of support afterwards from the community. I don't know.
No, that's fucking shitty. That's shitty.
Yeah.
Sonny Kiss did a real, bless your heart, kind of like reaction, which is great. Like, Sonny Kiss, by all accounts, is like a sweetheart.
Nice person.
Right.
Yeah, like they were one of the first people like through the wall on that thing, like, of a queer wrestler being like overtly queer.
Yeah. Anyway, Sonny Kiss is good and fine. She like he's fine. He even said he was fine. He said the attack was a complete fail, but whatever. I mean, I don't even consider it to be an attack. I think it was just like a bad.
It's a bad take.
Yeah.
And exactly. that's a thing. I guess
Cornette's got a lot of those.
Yeah.
We can talk about Cornette a lot. I mean, like again, Cornette doesn't only have bad takes.
More
Cornette
often
does have
than not,
sometimes
it's
good
like,
takes.
man, this old fella really
he's a
is
70-year-old man.
Yeah, I mean, he says a lot of like old man things, and that's, like, if we're all lucky, we'll be saying a lot of old man things too. I always say my default setting if I do make it to old age is that, well, you kids aren't hurting anybody, so I don't understand this, but I'm for it. I want that to be my default setting, not like you need back in my day, blah blah blah. Somebody posted the other day. I'm on this on Facebook. I'm on this page. I told you last week I was born in beach town, St. Petersburg, Florida, and so there's
not St. Petersburg,
not the cool one, but there's a page on Facebook that says "Remember St. Pete when." And it's just all these boomers posting boomer shit.
Ain't there no more.
It's boomers posting boomer shit, and it's slowly being taken over by millennials and Gen Xers. And it's funny because somebody posted, my high school, St. Petersburg High School, is on the registry of historic places. It's been around since like before the 1800s. And somebody posted this really cool picture of these two women that look like they look like flappers. And he's like, this was my grandma. Like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's cool and all. But and I'm reading through the comments, and this happens a lot, and somebody put, oh, man, the times sure have changed, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, they sure have. I remember, and people are like, heart. I said, yeah, they sure have. I graduated from the they sure have changed for the better. I graduated from the St. Pete High School that wasn't segregated.
Yeah.
I like, your history's fucking trash. Like I don't want to hear. It's cool. Like, I just don't want people to look through, like, we talk about Jim Cornette and his old manny things and boomer things. I just don't like when people put these rose-colored glasses on how great the good old days. With the good old days, people ask me, when you have these, let's get high and these conversations about, oh man, like, where would you go if you had a time machine and you could go back 50s. Anytime?
I would go back to 25 minutes ago to get like 25 minutes of my life back. I would not go back to any minute before the president.
My first question always is, do I get to be white?
Yeah.
And then that opens up, and they're like, well, no, am I still me? Oh, then no. Yeah. I'm not going in your time machine anywhere. It's a waste of my time.
Like, stupid. People are always like, yeah, I like to go to the Fitzies because, boy, could you get a milkshake really easy.
Go fuck off with that.
Talk about the nuclear family.
Yeah. Fuck off. But with Jim Cornette, that brings up a thing, and this whole...
No, he's not woke, but he's like...
I kind of want to talk about... Well, last week, when I told y'all I was a cop and I was in the Marine Corps and da-da-da, I kind of want to talk about praxis, and this how this all ties in as like good faith actors versus bad faith actors of... It's okay to have praxis just means my fiance who has a master's degree asked me like, what does that even mean? It's like, it's just it's a fancy, even that word. It's just
how you behave.
Right. It's a fancy word for practice. And like how you behave, exactly what Jeff said. So leftists describe things as having good praxis or having that person has good praxis. That person has bad praxis. And
or this is an example of good or bad praxis or whatever.
How do you get to the Kremlin?
Like break-like
How
clinics.
do you get to the Kremlin? Praxis.
That's good. I'm stealing that.
I saw that.
That's a bad. God. So, anyway,
my thing is like you have to grade people on a curve.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, this person doesn't have they're not the most wokest, but why, like,
how hard are they trying?
How hard are they trying? Where are they coming from? What are their life experiences? Take Cornette, for example. When he said, oh, this looks like a drag show. That is not a cool thing to say about somebody doing their craft, but somebody who spent their whole life in the South and in Kentucky could do a lot worse. Yeah. And you have to be like, is this person a homophobe? Are they a good faith actor or are they a bad faith actor? Is this somebody you could talk to and say like...
You could be good faith and wrong as hell, right?
Exactly.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
As a white guy, I feel like it's not in my authority to let anybody off the hook. You know?
Why not? Why not? Seriously, like...
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like, why
go into
can't
that,
you...
Jeff.
You know,
so what does let off somebody off the hook mean, first off?
Like,
and then two,
if somebody says something terrible to me... It's not my job to let them off the hook.
Sure. But again, I guess it's not. It's also not your job to like get out in front and sort of like I use the word for lack of a better one, like cancel somebody in somebody else's name.
I can't do that either. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
I basically am like a mall cop where I'm just there to observe.
You're Paul Blart. Okay.
No, cool. You can totally cancel somebody, but you have to look at their complete body of work. Okay, I'll give you an example. There's a woman at my work. She is a medical professional, but she's also an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, no. Is she trying to fire herself?
She's out of her mind. She's crazy.
Is she trying to cancel herself?
But at her core, she's a good person. So we have
a good person and
we have these discussions all the time. And there's another guy at my work who's like lefty, but he doesn't show it. What's that? He's lefty. I have no idea. I don't want to. She's like, I don't know.
Probably not.
But he's
legs washer.
But he's like, man. But this lefty guy at my work, he's like, man, you really get through to her when you talk to her about stuff. Blah 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 blah. And
you don't lead with judgment.
That's the thing. So we just have open conversations, and so now we have. There'll be times where we have a relationship now where she'll want to like bounce things off me and just chew the fat, and I'll just be like, "That is ridiculous. You got that from a crazy conspiracy channel off of YouTube. Don't." And we have a relationship now where we can bounce stuff off of each other, and we find like a lot of common ground, especially as two workers in a working environment. We have solidarity with each other. Now, she'll say something like, she said something the other day talking about, where the trannies hang out. And I go, check this out. I go, I'm not mad at you, but but you cannot use that word anymore. And this is why, because of this is, and I understand back in your day, you did that, but you cannot do that because this, and this. And she goes, well, they call themselves that. And I go, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And I explained it to her from a place of, and believe me, I'm not one of these people that's like, love, like. But I gave it to her in a place of.
If you're just making it more like if you're just making it an emotional, rather, right. If you're just saying like you can't say that because you're killing people or whatever, like that might be true that's what you're doing, or like you're, basically behaving in this tradition of violence, but I don't think just like calling people out on that necessarily helps the problem going forward.
Right, I didn't. Excuse me, I didn't.
And it sounds like you didn't do that.
Yeah, because we had a relationship. This was like so I didn't flame her to death, and I was like, and so she understood from where I'm coming from. I wasn't a social justice warrior, and I hate that. That's a pejorative. I hate that because that's exactly what I am. Like, I'll be a social justice. I'll come catch these hands. For
I feel
real.
like that's a word to weaponize. Like
exactly, but. I wasn't coming at her as a person that just wanted to dogpile on. I wanted to make sure if she said that to somebody outside of her circle, that she would not get dogpiled.
Other people, will do that, and I think that becomes an issue when that's your first objective. And actually was thinking about this recently and if that becomes your entire basis of argumentation, and this is not my idea of actually stealing this from Ben Burgess, if that becomes your entire basis for argumentation, when you have an argument with somebody on who's like ideologically aligned with you, and you're essentially going to make these sort of like, I won't engage, I'm just going to say, this is why you're morally wrong, and there's nothing beyond that, you're going to do that to your comrades and friends too. And when you do that, you alienate your own allies and your own friends and your own comrades, and then you essentially are isolating yourself.
Right, and I just think that, again, the easiest way to go on that is to grade people on a curve. And I've said this before on other shows. That's why I go so hard on liberals. I go harder on liberals than I do literal Nazis. Because, and it depends. I will go harder on a literal Nazi who's just an idiot out here in the street than I will a Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer gets no remorse because you're smarter. You're smarter than that.
Yeah,
beyond the pale.
Yeah,
and but in a certain sense too, that it's like even
you're not in the same
somebody
class
who's
as
like a leader of that. Like there is even with like a regular rank and file Nazi, there's a self defense mechanism there.
Right.
There's a self defense piece. But if you know that there's somebody who's like going around like Jordan Peterson spreading a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
Then you realize that, okay, you have to engage with it in a very different way because there's not a direct threat of violence that's occurring, and you can't do it. You can't treat all these types of enemies the same way.
Like there's kind of like the Max Schmeling thing where like he was like a boxer and they were like, "Hey, you're one of us," and he's like, "No."
Right. Who was Max? He was a Nazi, right?
He was a boxer who fought Joe Louis.
He was not actually a Nazi. He was framed sort of like as a Nazi. He was like Hitler's favorite boxer or whatever. But he was like partially Jewish, if I'm not mistaken.
He was kind of a boxer, and he was in Germany. And because of that, like Hitler's like, oh, that's my favorite boxer. I think Joe Louis is great. Like I'm not trying to like defeat him like ideologically or anything, but like,
I mean that's where. I guess my personal self, like I'm asking for forgiveness or anybody else who might be listening, like what gets said on this show, like nobody has perfect praxis at all. Like I'm going to say problematic things and then my comrades are going to check me on it.
Yeah, we just ask for good faith,
right?
Good faith engagement and not something like a demagogic like well, you said that means you're irredeemable.
I mean, we were talking about this before the show, like you came over my house, so I had Young Turks streaming, and Young Turks is liberal and capitalist, and I'm not. They're fine, but I'm not. They're a pipeline to something better, and I'm not really. But within a decade, I went from working like being a part of the U.S. military, law enforcement, falling asleep to Rachel Maddow, joining the DSA, listening to the Young Turks, join the DSA. Becoming
Bernie was somewhere in there.
Bernie, too. yeah, Bernie was a huge part, and just becoming a straight up, not a cultural Marxist, but just a straight up Marxist. So it's like you don't know where somebody's journey is going to lead them, and especially if somebody's media that they're intaking, and if they're acting in good faith, how that's going to be a pipeline to get them to where they need to be to eventually have good praxis, and it's like kind of like a journey that never ends.
I mean, it's like 2-3 years ago. I was big into Rachel Maddow because it was like
I had a Maddow period too. Like everybody, I had a Maddow. It was almost like a transitional. Like God, is this a convention booth and not like a radio booth?
No, it should be.
But
we're trying to make it safe for people to.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean,
but I guess my point is that like I had a period where I would sort of like. One of the like critical flashpoint moments in terms of awareness for my entire life. So just to rewind and go back to our intro episode from the other day. I was a junior in high school when 9/11 happened. I had just like failed out of LSU because I got so drunk because LSU won the national championship in 2003. Oh. And then Hurricane Katrina happened. And that was so fucked up and bungled. And then in 2008...
so many punches.
So I'm getting a flurry from life because in 2008, the economy crashed. And I'm trying to, like, establish my life in these various places. And, my folks were, fairly, like conservative and from a conservative place in St. Bernard Parish. And so there has to be some kind of a transitional period, and for me necessarily wasn't an academic thing. I mean, it actually, one of the sparks was the sociology class that was literally just based on inequality, and it was taught by a Marxist from Russia, which is dope. But what ended up, that was sort of like the thing that would push me in the direction where I would actually seek understanding and challenge the assumptions that I had made or have only heard throughout my entire life. So there has to be some kind of impetus for there to be a change in analysis throughout the world. Before I didn't have anything analysis, and now I do.
It just needs to be a culling of a very hard line of who you can work. Like you need you need to sharpen, instead of worrying about saying the right things or I don't want to say doing the right things. You need to figure out who's a good faith actor, who's a bad faith actor, who you can work with, who you can't.
Yeah, and I will say this too, but in the process from the Maddow whatever to watching MSNBC through the Young Turks through the actual getting involved in stuff. Right. It didn't happen until I just happened to have been in New York City during the Muslim ban, and I was took a subway from World Trade Center all the way to JFK by myself, and I experienced that kind of solidarity in an absolutely huge scale. And I was like, okay, wait, so all that stuff that I've been doing, posting online or whatever, the past 10 years, that didn't mean a fucking thing. Right. But now I actually have something that has gotten me involved, and now I actually can move from that, and that's a big break too.
Well, how do I I'm asking this question honestly? How do I parse the difference between so we've got liberals who might be on their journey to get where we're at, but then also on the same side, on the opposite side of my neck, I will say that liberals are also our worst enemies, because when fascism actually comes, they will side with fascists.
I actually have an analysis to that as well, and it's not going to be clean. All the liberals go to the fascists, and all the nobody's left over for the left. Mm-hmm. There is a certain class character that's involved with it that will take some of them. So the elites that are pushing the liberal narrative are going to go no matter what. But there is also a certain segment of them that are in play for in the sort of they're either depoliticized or they're in the sort of liberal space, and they have to be contested over rather than just expect them to automatically go fascist. And I think that's sort of where the idea of debate, discussion, and contesting of ideas does come in, because we can't just let it go. And then there's also the people who have undeveloped politics as well, which is probably much more than the sort of the liberal side, which we need to get people developed into our sort of orientation as soon and as young as possible. And so,
YDSA.
Yeah. And that's me basically, hey, so there's a teacher saying that brainwashed kids.
Right.
It's actually kind of weird, because being as someone who grew up in the same household as you, it's really bizarre. It's really bizarre how we arrived at the same point through different ways,
different experiences, because everybody gets to where they're at in their own way, but we also didn't get into the same place independently of one another, because we were in contact the entire time.
We weren't super in contact,
but I guess my point here is that but we can keep an eye on one another as well. There's no isolation in this world right now. Everything and everybody is connected to everything, unless you're off the grid, unless you're the prepper who's in the thing, or unless you're even in a left-wing sense, the anarchist sense, you're in the commune and you won't work with anybody in that group. So everybody is connected to everybody, and everybody sees what everybody else is doing. And there is there's going to be necessarily like processes for pushing in certain directions, and some of it might be like fuck you dad, and some of it might be like, well, this person or this idea that I get into can be like more independently done than other ways. Mm-hmm. But it's not like a this or that. It's a gradient more than it is a dichotomy.
I mean, it's kind of wild because like we grew up in the same time, but like your arrival at these ideas was kind of through like work and like going to college, and mine was like I was in the military, and I was just in there and seeing all these people like talk all this weird shit about like Barack Obama, and I was kind of a centrist back then, to be honest. Like I was like both sides there. Maybe like yeah, but then,
I just thought people were reasonable. I know what you mean by that. I was a centrist because I thought if you just explained your case well enough that reasonable people would come around. But these people aren't reasonable. They're pushing their own agendas, and their agenda is to crush the working poor.
Like, and that's the thing. The thing that brings every working person together is their lived experience by doing work and working for somebody else.
I mean, a big moment for me was the election. Like, I was working election night against, who is the guy? The Mormon.
2016?
The Mormon guy.
Oh, 2012. You're talking about Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney.
Like, I saw Barack Obama win, and all these people, like, instead of just being like, well, these guys aren't crazy different. Like, they have different viewpoints, but, like, all the people on the right just dug their heels in, like, started, like, windmilling their arms.
Right.
Instead of like being like, all right, same team, same fight, or something like that.
Nope. That's a whole nother thing that we can get into. Is like, maybe we already have of why the left. No, not the left. Why centrists cannot contend against the right.
Centrists cannot be the vanguard of the working class. They cannot, and they never were able to be. And the fact that that sort of like I don't mean we in any sort of sense. The fact that that is viewed as sort of a base for the vanguard of the working people is literally like what gives the Democratic Party power.
I mean, I think it's a terrible idea to be like, we should be led by the people with the least amount of ideology.
No, yeah. So, yeah, the squishiest people in the world, right?
Yeah. You're hearing Biden talking about that now. He says the same. It's the same rhetoric Obama had. These people's fever will break after I'm president. Yeah. No, it won't.
Even though like after the past 15 years or whatever,
what have you been sleeping?
There's never been this fever break.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm rambling and repeating myself here, but we can't expect people who are from the ruling class to lead the working class.
You're not rambling at all.
The working class has to lead itself. Period. The end. Anything less would be uncivilized.
Yep. You got to get out of here. You got to go to
a bounce. Y'all keep talking.
No, I'm dunzo. I'm hot and tired. We don't have any air conditioning in this booth.
You can listen to us on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. on WHIV-LP New Orleans and WHIV.org/listen. And you can contact us at contact@goodmorningcomrade.com.
Anywhere podcasts are available. We're also on Twitter.
Soon to be Twitch. Soon to be YouTube. Soon to be everything. All the stuff. Twitter, Comrade Morning.
Also, give money to our Patreon. We're on Patreon on Good Morning Comrade. This is how we keep our servers. We pay for server costs. Keep that running. We really appreciate that. And
we need you.
Yeah.
We'll give you a tote bag maybe somewhere down the line if we can get a union made.
NPR tote bag.
I mean, I could share my ad on Twitter, but I don't want to.
Find me at Eminent Prof.
All right, we'll see y'all next week. Yeah, we're still trying to do 2 a week. So, see you then. Bye.